Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Profitable Franchisees podcast. I'm your host, Tracey Leak, and this is the podcast where we bring you powerful stories and strategies to help you to have a more profitable franchise business. First up, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I wanted to talk to you today about how to actually get your goals achieved, right? New Year's. We all know about New Year's resolutions. People sit down and say, right, this is what's going to be different this year. This is my goals. And oftentimes we don't stick to them. Okay. There's a couple of reasons why. And I want to talk about those today. And I also want to help you to become better equipped to achieve your goals. One of the things that I always think about when you think of New Year's goals is I always thought, I had a client who one time told me this in passing and said, gyms, right? So when you go to a fitness gym, they have big sales at New Year because oftentimes people set New Year's goals around their fitness, their health, weight loss. And they always talk about that, like a gym, all those members they bring on in January, by the time it gets to Easter, they should actually change the gym into a bar because they're more likely to get all their members to come back. And that's not anything against gyms. That's about people, okay? People set these goals and within 90 days, they've probably stopped. There's lots of different statistics around how long it takes to form a habit. I've heard things from 21 days to a year to whatever time it takes. But any goal worth achieving is going to take some time and some commitment. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to need to really have some focus around it and keep going. And there becomes a period of time that's called like that hang on time. And what I've discovered is it's usually, if it's a 12-week program, it's in weeks 4, 5, and 6. If it's a 12-month program, it's usually months 4, 5, and 6. Why is that? Well, the first 3 months, let's use a year as an example, it's a bit like that honeymoon period. You're excited. Oftentimes you're getting some quick results. You're making things happen. You get to months 4, 5, and 6, and all of a sudden, the results don't come as quickly. You sort of plateau a little bit. And then also what happens is you just get bored, okay? You're sick of doing the activity and you change. Even though as humans we don't like change, we change all the time. We get out of habits. We stop being so focused on something. And so it starts to drop off. So, now we're in January. You're probably going to be good until the end of March with your goals. But it'll probably be April, May, and June where you'll start to see that downward pattern. So there's some things we can do now to help us to actually make sure that we stay focused on our goals for 2025 and to actually achieve them. And this is for business or personal, okay? I always say when I'm coaching people, I'm coaching a person, not just a business. So I'm totally fine if my clients have personal goals in amongst their business goals because you're a human being, okay? You should have some personal goals as well. So the first thing is that prevention is better than cure, okay? So we want to set things up right to start with so that we don't have to try and fix it later. And the biggest thing is are you setting your goals for you? And I know this seems weird to say that because who else would you be setting the goals for? But have a real look at your goal and say, is this actually important to me? Is this something I really want? Because sometimes we set goals for other people. Sometimes we set goals, because we think that's what we should do, okay? You might have set as a goal, let me use a really easy example, like, I have a goal that I have to be on TikTok this year. Well, who says that you have to be on TikTok? Do you want to be on TikTok? Is it actually going to be beneficial to your business? Like, I know that sometimes we go, I don't want to do it, but I really want the result from it. So therefore, yes, it is a goal you want. It may be just, getting used to the activity to make it happen. But really stop and look at your goals. Think about, is this what you really want? Because oftentimes we're setting goals that are not actually for us. They're for someone else or what we think we should want or what we should do in society. Instead of really drilling down to what it is that you want and is it going to actually be impactful for you. If you ask, again, I don't know where I heard this. Maybe my brother told me, but he said that, you don't have to ask kids to do something that they're passionate about or they love. Okay, you might have to nag them to clean their room, But if they love playing basketball, you would never have to think twice about asking them to go out and play basketball. They would do it in a heartbeat. So you've got to think about that for yourself. What are the things? Set yourself up for success. What are the things that will come easy to you because you want to do them? Okay? It's not a have to. It's not a should. It's a want. So really think about it. The other thing is to not set too many goals. Sometimes I've done this, where you go, I'm all excited and it's easy to set goals before they've actually happened. And you're like, right, this is it. I'm going to do this. And you're in a great mood. And before you know it, you've set like 20 goals. Sometimes that's way too hard. There's theories out there that should really only have one main goal. That's it. One main focus. And then you have sub goals that all fit into that main goal. So let's say your goal was to, increase your profit by 20% this year. Well, every other goal that you set is actually a milestone to make that major one happen. So it might be, right, I need to increase my social media following by, 15% or by a certain number. I need to increase my engagement. They're like mini goals on the way to making the major goal happen. I'm not opposed to people having more than one goal, but I do like when they're sort of interconnected and a focus on them. It just makes it easier for you to know what you really want to achieve for this year. So having that focus on what you're doing. So don't set too many goals and make sure those goals are actually set for you. Now, the challenge for business owners is not actually setting goals. I get this all the time. I do a lot of speaking in the franchising world, and I've got a lot of people asking me if I can do a goal-setting session with franchisees. I have franchisors who'll come to me and say, hey, can you come to conference and do a goal-setting session? Our franchisees are having issues setting goals. When we actually drill down, I can guarantee you, most business owners, they don't have an issue setting goals. They have an issue with how to actually make that goal happen. What are the steps that need to happen to achieve that goal? So the goal setting is just setting the target. What the main work is to actually achieve your goals is working out what your activity plan is. What do I need to do? What are the steps that need to happen to make that goal come about? So when you think about this, I want you to think about, my favorite saying, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. So break your goals down into smaller pieces and then work out what you need to do to make that happen. Also understand how you set goals. I get lots of stories, can't necessarily always remember where I heard them, but I remember a client telling me that they heard a top-level rugby coach in Australia speaking, and they said at the start of the season, they get all their players to do 100-metre sprints. And in that, they said it's not to see physically, it's not for their fitness. The reason he did that as a coach was he wanted to see how they finished the 100-metre sprint. So they could either come to the end and slow down a couple of steps before the end of the sprint at the 100 metres. So they'd slow down at metre 97. Others would get to the 100 metre, then slow down. And others would run through the finish line at full pace and slow down a couple of metres after the 100 metres in line. So understand how you work. Are you the sort of person who likes to set the bar a little lower and then overachieve? Are you the person who likes to set a goal that's sort of realistic and you aim to get it and usually you hit a nail on the head? Are you the sort of person who always overestimates what you can do, but you're okay with if you fall a little short because you know you've overestimated? It doesn't matter how you set it, just understand who you are. Then all you've got to do is take that goal and break it down into bite-sized pieces and come up with the activity, the action steps that you need to take. Now, there's a couple of things that work on your side here. The first one is I like to get clients to get into a bit of a habit. Like, what do we need to do each and every week or each and every day maybe that, is the minimum we need to do to actually be on track to achieve that goal? What are the steps we need to take so we can get into a routine? The more that we can get these activities into your daily habits, into your routine, the more likely they're to happen. So say, let's use the TikTok example, that you go, right, I'm going to get onto TikTok this year and this is what I plan to do with it and this is my ultimate goal. Know what your goal is for why you're doing it not just because you think you should be doing it. Let's say it's that. And you might say, right, every Friday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm going to film at least 3 or 4 TikToks so that you've got them in the bag and you can schedule them and post them later. And so you get into a routine. So you're not just sort of going, oh my goodness, I've got to film some TikToks. What am I going to do? You're actually scheduling it. So it becomes a part of your routine. It becomes a part of the habit. This means you're more likely to keep going with that activity. You might set aside a time during the week. I call it a 1 hour not negotiable time, that it's not negotiable. You won't change it for just anything. That's the time you set for yourself. And maybe 1 hour a week, focused, uninterrupted, you work on the activities for your goals. It's amazing how much you can get done in an hour if it's uninterrupted and you're planned and focused, ready to go. So even just 1 hour a week working on your goals. You might need 2 hours a week, 2 1 hour separate times. And then also remember that we have the compound effect that works for us. Doing a little bit consistently over time will give us a bigger result. So keep working on it. But you need to have an action plan. If you haven't broken your goals down into smaller milestones and smaller bite-sized pieces, you're pretty much setting yourself up to fail. And in fact, a 1-year goal, you should turn into a 90-day milestone. The reason we work in 90 days, and I do this with clients, I work in 90-day periods, is because 1 year is too long, okay? You can lose focus in a year. But 90 days, most people can stay on track for 90 days. And if you do get off path, well, you haven't wasted the whole year. Think about back to school. Like, when did most people do their homework for an assignment? Okay? Usually the night before it was due. You can't do that in business. You can't leave it till the last minute. You can't set your goals now in January and then when it comes around December, go, oh my goodness, it's the last minute. I've got to get this done. You need to work consistently over time. So 90-day periods, it's long enough to get things done of substance, but it's not so long that you lose focus. So take your 1-year goals, bring them back to a 90 days, and then work out what your activity you need to do in that 90-day period to keep working on your goals. And this will help you to actually achieve more. Now, the funny thing is that you need to have some accountability. And people often say to me, oh, well, I'll get myself an accountability buddy or an accountability partner. I actually find that it doesn't really work that much. It's lovely. And if you're quite extroverted, it probably can work for you. It doesn't work for me. I'm introverted. I don't need someone else to be catching up with and talking about my goals, but other people really like that. So it's okay if you need it from that aspect of people contact. But basically, someone else can't really hold you accountable. There is one exception to this rule, and I'll talk about it in a second. Because if you really don't want to do something, you can come up with an excuse. And most people who are holding someone else accountable, they're not strong enough to hold them accountable to their goals. Now, I'm really good at accountability because I often say I care more about your goals than you do. I'm an unreasonable friend. I'm like a dog with a bone. I will keep at you and at you until you achieve what you need to achieve. But most people don't have that skill or talent. And so, you have to really find an accountability partner who is going to be that unreasonable friend, who will hold you accountable when you want to give up. When you start making excuses, oh, I got busy and this happened. That's fine for 1 week, okay? But if that keeps happening time and time again, there's a reason. When I have clients who are not actually working on a goal, I usually stop and ask them why. People think that procrastination is a bad thing. It's not. It's just a signal that something else is going on. If someone's procrastinating on a task and they're not just getting it done and they've got no reason to it, then they're just lazy. But if there's someone's procrastinating on a task, and I do this myself, there's sometimes a reason for it. Sometimes it's the fear of the unknown, like how do I actually do this? Sometimes it's fear of success. If I do this and it works, then oh my goodness, I don't know if I can handle that. Sometimes it's because they don't have the system or the process or know how to do it. But sometimes, usually when you're procrastinating, there's a reason that's stopping you. So, accountability partner is good, but what you usually need more is a coach who can actually work through that with you. But the best way to hold yourself accountable, and that's what I try and teach clients to do, I don't want them to be reliant on me for the rest of their life. I want them to learn how to hold themselves accountable. So the first step is to actually set a goal that means something to you, because then you're more likely, if you want it, to keep doing the activities, to be accountable. The second thing is to use things like charts, okay? Like star charts. If you say, right, I've got a goal to lose weight, I need to walk every day, then get yourself a little packet of stars. You can just buy them at the supermarket or Office Works, and you buy a little packet. They're usually about $3. And every day you mark the calendar off with a star if you went for a walk, because then it's really obvious. The reason is it's black and white. It's fact. Did I or didn't I go for a walk? Can I or can't I put a star on the star chart? If you've got a financial goal, I love using like thermometer that you colour in. Think like a hospital when they're trying to raise funds. They often put a big sign out the front and they have one of those thermometers and they colour it in as they raise money. Well, you can use that for your business too. You might have a chart where you go, right, I need to make 10 sales. Get out a piece of paper, just a blank piece of white paper, and draw 10 circles on it. And every time you do an appointment, you get to draw a smiley face into one of the circles until you've done your 10 appointments. Using a chart or something to do that will help you to stay accountable, because it turns it into fact. It's not you just thinking about it in your head, like, have I or haven't I done it? It's something that you can tick off. Now, if you want a really great accountability partner, the best accountability partner you can get is one of your kids, or a friend's kid, or a kid who really wants something. I used my best friend's son one time for this. But you come up with something and they hold you accountable. So let's say you need to go for a walk every day. Instead of you putting the star on the calendar, your kids put the star on the calendar. And the deal is if you get a star on every day in the calendar for the next, month or 3 months, at the end of that time, they get whatever it is they want. Okay? So I did this with Harry, Kate, my best friend's son. He loves playing golf, and I often take him to play golf. And I said, okay, I need you to help me. I need to make sure I'm walking every day. So we did a 12-week period, and I had to walk every day. Okay. I had, I think I had 3 instances that I could use that for whatever reason, because say I had to travel somewhere and for whatever reason I just wasn't able to get a walk in. I had 3 passes where in that 12 weeks that if I didn't get my walk in, I could do a double the walk, but I had to do it within 24 hours of that day. Now, the reason I stayed accountable to that, even when it was raining and I didn't want to go out and walk or whatever it was I didn't want to get to the end and say to Harry, well, I didn't achieve it, we can't go play golf. Because he actually asked me about halfway through, he said, even if you don't do it, you're still going to take me to play golf, right? And I said, no. If I don't do it, we don't play. And he goes, right, well, let's get serious about this then, okay? And so I didn't want to let him down. I've used this so many times with clients, because how can you look in the eyes of a kid and say, no, I didn't do it, so you miss out? Like, you've let them down. It works so well, okay? I don't mind sometimes. This sounds really bad. I've had other adults as accountability partners. If I've let them down, it's, well, I've let them down. But I can't look in the eyes of a kid and say, I let you down. I had a client who did exactly the same thing as I did. Had to walk every day, and they were trying to lose weight. And in a 1-month period, they lost about 8 kilograms just doing a walk every day. And they had their daughter at the time, I think she was about 7 years old. And we asked her at the start what she would want. And she wanted a Barbie doll, like just a stock standard Barbie doll, not anything fancy. It was like $10. And I'm like, man, was that the best weight loss program you've ever been on? And she goes, yeah. And they made a day of it when they did it. They went to the store and they bought a Barbie, and she also got her some accessories and everything else. And it made it so fun. And her daughter said to her when they were having a drink after they had been, she said, right, so what's your goal next month? Okay, because she had already planned what she wanted for the next month. And so she just got there. And every day she'd come and she'd say, Mum, have you been for your walk yet? And she'd be standing at the calendar with a star ready to go. And Mum would go, yes. And she said, I wanted to make sure that I had walked before she even asked me, so I didn't let her down. So really think about how to actually turn those goals into actions, okay, into an activity plan, and then use those actions to actually set up a chart or an accountability chart so that you can actually make sure you're achieving it, because it becomes fact rather than just a thought. So that's the other one, is just set some milestones, but also set some rewards for yourself. Sometimes I'm really bad at setting rewards for myself. I'm terrible at it. I'll be really honest with you. I'm so bad at setting rewards for myself because sometimes I think I don't deserve it. But it's like, what will actually help you to move forward? I just started to work on a goal that's been a big goal of mine for a long time. And I told my brother, I said, okay, so I got that started. And he goes, well done. He goes, I know that is such a big milestone for you to get started. And he said, I'm so glad that you figured out how to get started with that. And you know what? That was kind of like a reward to me. Like, I know it sounds silly. I made my big brother proud of me, but it was what I needed. You know, if you're unsure, what is your love language? There's a great book called 5 Love Languages that can also help you with your reward system, setting up your milestones. But at the end of every 90 days, just stop and go, right, hey, I've got to here. Maybe give yourself little mini rewards on the way onto the way to targets and goals. Think about what you can do, because we need to actually help ourselves. When it comes down to it, I think like goals and activity plans, it's as bad as this sounds. Well, it doesn't sound that bad, but it's like toilet training a child, okay? The goal is to have a child toilet trained. And so it takes daily disciplines. It works well when you have an accountability chart. You want little rewards along the way. You want to achieve milestones. In the end, we're all still the same people. We're human beings. We still have those same traits inside of us. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate just going after our goals. And that's the final one I want to say to you is allow yourself to achieve your goals. I have way more clients that I've worked with or people I've come across who are fearful of success rather than fearful of failure. Sorry, that was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? So being fearful of success because they think, who am I to achieve that? Who am I to talk like that? Look at this podcast. Who am I to sit here and talk to you about this? But it's not until people actually say, hey, that helped, that I go, that's right, that's why I'm doing this. It's not about me being on the internet and saying this stuff. It's like, who can I help? So if you're more like me, turn it into who you can help. I was talking to someone just last week, and they're in a franchise group, and they basically primarily work with kids, even though the parents are actually their customers, but they're working with kids. And she was telling me that she has this hold up of, being too profitable because she feels like she's doing the wrong thing. And I said, well, do you actually help these kids? Like, they really help them. And it's not just helping them today. This can have a lifetime impact on them. I said, so instead of you thinking about your profit amount, what your goal is, I want you to work out what your goal is in profit, but I want you to turn that into how many kids' lives have you impacted in this year? And you could see the absolute change in her eyes when we turned that around. Okay, so it wasn't about her being Scrooge McDuck sitting in a vault of money and making profit. We equated her profit as the reward for changing the lives of X number of kids a year. And she said, oh my goodness, I'm not doing enough. I could help more. I said, great. And it's almost like tricking yourself into success, okay, to allow you to do that. But I'm here to tell you, just allow it to happen. You're deserving of it, okay? Go out there and make it happen. You can achieve these goals this year and make sure you have some other supporters around you. I'll support you, but who else are your supporters? Who's your cheer squad? Who are the people who are going to say, hey, well done, like my brother, hey, well done. I know that was a big step for you. Who are the people that you go to who can cheer you on? When you get to conference time as a franchisee and someone wins an award, I want you to give them a massive round of applause, standing ovation, hoop and wallop, woo, 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 whatever it may be. Get up there because maybe that was a massive goal for them. Maybe they've had to overcome a lot. They've stayed disciplined to doing the activities to achieve that goal. Celebrate their success because for you to get more supporters, you need to be more supportive. And this is the great thing in a franchise. You've got all these other franchisees who you can support and who can support you. So make sure you're cheering them on and congratulating them on their success, because in turn, that'll start making you feel more comfortable with success and allow yourself to actually go out and achieve your goals. So that brings us to the end. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I'm really excited about the podcast and what I'm bringing you this year. As always, if you've got ideas or suggestions on topics, or you want to be a guest, or you know someone who should be a guest, head over to my website, traceyleak.com. And on there, just go to the podcast tab and you can go into, be a guest and send us your suggestion. If you haven't yet signed up to the Franchisee Profit Pulse newsletter, make sure you do that as well. That's also on my website at traceyleak.com. Just go there. You can find everything you need there. But I really want to bring lots of value to you via the podcast this year to help you grow and build a more profitable business. And profit not is always just money. Sometimes that's about your own success, about your own happiness, your own joy. So welcome to 2025, and let's make this the best year yet. Okay, I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.